Are we on? Hello, hello.
Good evening.
It's Monday night, which means it's cake lounge night. A little bit of change from the usual 40 sessions before this one. So if you're new to us and have joined us for the first time, I'm Christine.
And I'm Phil. Feel like we need to introduce ourselves. We've had a lot of new people joining the Facebook group, which is great. Really delighted to have you. And this is just something that we do every week. And I think up to this point, it's mostly been us talking about cake business-related topics. But what we thought would be really good is to just really broaden that out to the wider world of cake. We'll be meeting some of the community. We've got quite a few people lined up.
Yeah, I think it's just lovely that now that we've sort of joined, we've got a little bit. We've joined the current era of technological ability.
Well,
it's another way of saying
in that we can stream and invite some other people in, so
yes.
It's all very exciting, and it's so simple that even we can use it. So,
which is why we're really quite excited. Which means that we can, and it's a perfect opportunity, isn't it? We've got this different kind of time zone that we're in at the moment, and so to get to know each other a bit better, I think one of the things that I've really loved is just seeing into people's houses. I'm really nosy about that. And actually just seeing into people's worlds. It was lovely a couple of weeks ago to talk to Will Torrent and just...
Gosh, that conversation made me so hungry.
It was a very good conversation, and it made me want to eat a lot of chocolate cake afterwards.
Oh, good. Which is not what we need at this point of lockdown.
Hi, we've got Liz with us, Vicky, Susie, Chrissy, Liz, Lou, Denise and loads more, but I can't read. I need new glasses. So yes, we're going to embark on another episode of Joy tonight.
Well, we're going to just in terms of what's coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, because we've been organised.
We have. Well, what we want to be able to do is to probably give you about a month's view out to who we'll be speaking to. So next week we got Fen and Shagan from Monony Cakes in London. So they're a luxury cake maker in London. So we're going to hear a bit about their journey from starting up through to now one of the leading luxury cake makers in London, doing really well.
Yeah.
They've got an amazing story, an amazing journey. So I'm looking forward to hearing from them. Always looking for new tips.
Yeah, Fen and Shagan are pretty amazing. We had a lovely chat with them this weekend.
Yeah.
And it was really nice just to shoot the breeze on a Sunday afternoon.
for about an hour and a half, actually.
Yeah, it was lovely.
It went by quickly.
Really lovely. So exciting things coming from them as well. So we want to find out about that. And then the week after, we'll be talking to David and Paul from Cake Flicks and just hearing a little bit more about all the things that they've just been launching, and
they've launched
life in Spain and all of that.
Absolutely, yeah, life is hard, isn't it? But they've launched their master's program, which is an accredited training program for cake making and cake decorating. So we'll be able to ask them lots of questions. But if you've got any specific questions for David and Paul about the program, let us know. We'll put those to them. Might even give them some advance warning. But they're great, and they've been incredibly generous to us as the cake professionals. So it's really lovely to be able to have them on here. As they start their new venture, which I think is just what the industry needs.
Yeah, genuinely exciting.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
But tonight we are going to dive in to one of the many things that all of you creative people have been doing out there in this gap year that we are experiencing.
It's like the worst gap year ever, though, isn't it?
Yeah, the one that you didn't sign up for.
Yeah, no trip to Peru, just... Although you don't get the dysentery. I mean, that's the positive side.
I think the furthest we've ever travelled at this moment is Falmouth. Was today.
No, Truro.
Did you?
We went all. Yes, we did. That's where
we were today.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even know
it's
where.
It's about 20 miles down the road.
Yes,
that's living.
Yes, crazy.
So yes, lots of different ways that people are coping and looking at the businesses.
One way might just be to sit in the garden in the sunshine with a glass of gin.
That's quite nice. I wish we'd done that for the last few weeks.
Quite appropriate way to deal with a global pandemic. Other ways have been dealing with schooling and children and family at home that have not been there before. So if that is what you are doing, then more power to you. And we will support you all the way. And then other folk have been now doing some local deliveries, and some folk are going postal. And so in the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks or so, were thinking about and now have begun a postal delivery service. And so,
can I just check? Somebody was saying that the sound is echoing. So if it is still echoing, can you tell us? Because we can switch mics if need be. So just messages. It is yes. Not be pressing all the buttons.
Oh, okay.
Having said that, we're mastering all the technology.
Hi, Cynthia. 2 children and a husband, 24/7 definitely makes things harder.
Oh,
gosh, Lou. It's an interesting thing to be in 4 walls with the people that you love dearly. Yes, it is, and I think it's just a huge it's a huge adjustment, isn't it?
It is a massive adjustment. Yeah. And I think so in terms of how businesses are adjusting.
Yeah.
Some people are. I see lots of online tutorials springing up.
Yeah.
That's a journey we'll be going on in
and
a little
baking
bit.
with family as well.
Baking with
That's
family. Yeah, and local deliveries of cake, and postal, and that's really something that we ventured into over the last 5 or 6 weeks. So we've set up a new cake business called Black Box Cake, which essentially delivers cake slices across the UK, which was a really difficult decision actually to make, because in some ways we'd like to just carry on what we've been doing, but the reality is there aren't going to be any big parties probably this year. So we need to adjust. We need to all we do is cake. So there aren't any other incomes coming in. So we need to make something work. And this felt like it was the best way to do that for us. And so we're not suggesting that this is something for everybody.
No, but we have seen lots of conversations out there about packaging and boxes and delivery services that are super slow. And so we wanted to just speak into that and ask how you guys are doing with all of that, if you are considering it, or if this is something that you think might be in the future or not at all. This is where we're going to go tonight.
Yeah, and I think the short version is it's definitely doable, but it's definitely
there's learning.
There's a lot of learning as we have found out. So, what would you say to kick off?
So I think in a sense it does feel like starting a new business, in that you might be dealing with more people if you're doing smaller boxes. And I think this is one of the things is, it's not the same as a 5-tier cake. If you've got 180 slices in a 5-tier cake, if you're trying to get as much of that, you just need to think of it as a new section of your business. And for that, you need to think from the ground up, like, who is my market? Who am I selling to? Am I selling to my old clients? Am I selling into my network of people that know and love me? Am I selling to my local folk, or where am I pitching? And I think that is a really key place to come from as well. And also, how much time do I have to give to this? Am I wanting to be baking every day and sending out every day and going to the post office every day? Or am I wanting to arrange for courier pickup on a weekly basis? How is that whole rhythm of my life and my family life and my work life, if you've got work as well, or my isolation life, how is that actually going to figure out? And the business needs to fit in with how you live, and how you can do business within that. Because there's no point in starting something that you just can't sustain.
And that was, so one of the decisions that we made is that we're doing monthly deliveries. We're not doing weekly, we're not doing daily, because we realised that next year there's going to be an awful lot of weddings going on. And we just can't afford to have a business that every now and then we get an order dropping in that needs to be actioned straight away. So we've gone for monthly. It means that for people who would like to have a delivery on a particular date, we don't do that unless they're ordering a lot. If somebody comes along and orders 20 boxes, then we'll make it happen.
But then it becomes business sense to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's a chunk of work. And so that's what we've decided to do. I know some people who are doing just, whenever an order comes in, they'll respond to that. And that could absolutely work. I think we just realised that for ourselves, that wouldn't work when we get.
And we didn't want cake going to waste, to be honest.
Could be.
That would be a bit of a shame. Benita said that trying to post cake samples out to clients because she's unable to meet them at the moment. And I think that's, in a way, actually, that this is going to become more part of how we do business. I think particularly given that we're doing more online consultations in order to, get those bookings, you're getting more online consultations. So if you'd like us to talk about just posting out sample boxes, we're happy to chat into that as well.
Lou was saying that she's had problems with delivery. We'll come on to that because we did some trial shipments, which we had some problems with. So we've had quite a few conversations with the company that does our shipping about making sure that it's 24 hours and not a week, because a week is not going to work for cake. For some treats it would do. If you're doing shortbread, then that's not a problem. But if you're doing cake, then a week obviously is not going to be the right thing.
Yeah, and Yvonne's saying that she's got a dedicated date every Wednesday, which is really smart because it arrives by the weekend, and that's so that it just makes it really regular, and also regular for your the people that are going to be buying from you. So as you get your message out there, if your message is really clear, like everybody has to order by Monday at the latest or whatever, that means that your market can then get to know how they interact with you, and then they will share that message out to all the people that they know, so that you can get more orders in from that way. So I think the piece about how will people find out is really important as well. So now that you know, who is it that I'm trying to sell to? Am I selling to my old clients, or am I selling to friends and family, or how is this? Or is this just about the sample boxes that are going out to my prospective clients that customers that might book me for next year? So do you want to talk about that?
Sorry, about what? I was just thinking of something else. My mind was on something else.
Oh, sorry. No, just how.
This is so slick.
How do they find out? What are the cheap and inexpensive ways, but really effective ways that people can find out what's available?
So I think the simple one is your existing network. So existing customers. What's been interesting to me is we sent out a one-off email to all of our past customers and said, "Hey, we're doing this. If you'd like to order some, this is where it's at." We made clear that we wouldn't be contacting them again, just so they didn't get upset. And we got a good number of orders out of that. Several people whose anniversaries were coming up wanted to get some cake, which is amazing. One couple actually bought boxes for 3 of their members of family, 1 for themselves and 2 for other members of their family. So that was lovely. Events companies, venues that you've worked with, anybody who'll make it known. Also, if there are people who are on social media, have a big following, approaching them to see whether they would like to try one of the boxes. No obligation, but they might share it. That's
not necessarily cold calling. If you've got an existing relationship, or you met them at a party once, or you were at the same party, or whatever, anything. If there's or somebody that knows somebody that knows them, it's a much better way of approaching
rather than just random messaging.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Christine worked incredibly hard contacting. Do you want to share your book of? Yeah,
it doesn't come out of the
thin air.
Thin air. So in order for our first, it's far enough away that you can see, but all of these pages are all contact these people in order to get what we finally got in the end, which was our contact list here of the people that actually ordered. So what was super surprising to me was that we actually had contact details of a lot of people that had bought cake from us in the past, that had got in touch, that we worked with. And I was surprised actually just going through, even looking at my Instagram, who I follow on Instagram, and realizing how many people I know and how many people I genuinely could just message and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And guess what? We started this business.
And that's it. So mind your connections, because you will have loads that you can really use. What I was distracted by earlier was, as you were talking about the process of shipping, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is there are a lot of bits that go into delivering cake, and so we sent out about 70 in this last batch, or 60 in this last batch, and that each of those needed a box. There were probably about 10 different elements that went into those boxes apart from the cake. So the wrapping paper, the labels, the postal sticker, the bag that it went into.
The collateral that went, oh, here we are.
Yes, please buy more of our cake, please, please. And then I think about 300 or 400 slices of cake, which were wrapped into about 180 different parcels. And so when you start dealing with really large volume, you have to multiply everything that you do by that volume. And so you need to cost of time, how much time is it going to take me to wrap 180 parcels of cake? Well, it's going to take you a while. Yeah. And how long is it going to take you to put each of these boxes together? And so there's been quite a bit of work that we've had to do on that. And I wouldn't underestimate how long that's going to take. I think in the end for us, it was probably about 4 solid days of work. Yeah.
But if you're working with smaller quantities, Chrissy had the question about like being more efficient when you're baking and then slicing up, and if you've got different flavors and you've only got small boxes, how can you manage that in a way that means you're not throwing cake away?
So we freeze our samples, so we can store those. Now, freezing cake, we did a Facebook Live on this quite some time ago, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, it'll be one of the earlier ones. So
yeah, you'd have to troll way back through. But the short version is that if they are wrapped properly in a sealed box and not next to other strong flavors, they'll last a good few weeks. And if you don't believe me, put some in the freezer and try them and test it out, because that's what we've done. We've frozen cake and then brought it out because we want to be confident that what we're sending to our customers is great products. And
some cakes do really well, and other cakes don't. And you need to know which of your recipes freeze really well and which of them you can do at the last minute. So do have a look through. If you just click on the Facebook page and just look under videos, you'll be able to scroll back to some of those early conversations where we go into that sort of thing.
Yeah, a bit more detail on that. I think the other thing that stood out for me from our experience was the importance of doing trial runs. So we are using DPD. We looked at several different service providers to do the shipping of the cakes, Royal Mail. We chose DPD because we felt that the service was going to be better. But the truth is that all of these companies currently are maxed out. So
you were saying about their rates at the moment.
Yeah, so the volume that DPD are shipping is the same as peak Christmas shipping every day for the last 7 weeks. That's what they've been dealing with. So the fact that you've got any parcels on time is amazing. And so there is extra risk at this moment of your cake not being delivered on time. But when we did the trial run, what happened was they
and that's a trial run with a 24-hour guaranteed delivery.
Yes.
Because we can go on to what can you actually send, but go on.
Yeah. So both of our trial shipments got delayed because there's a problem connecting at the depot in Cornwall to the rest of the network. And so there was a problem that the depot needed to work out, which they did. So when we actually sent out our cake, it worked perfectly. So all of our cake got delivered the next day. There were no issues, but it took us 2 attempts to identify there was a problem and for them to work it out. So yeah, definitely do some trial shipments, and even for you to work out the process of, okay, how long is it really going to take me to do all this stuff?
Yeah, and I think finding out what you can ship, like cupcakes, not so much. Not if it's a decorated cupcake, because you need to give it the shake test. So there needs to be some sort of packaging in there that will make sure that everything that you send out is not going to be rattling around in a box. And your box is really, really important. So if I can just go on a little box sidetrack here, there are loads of companies out there doing boxes. You can get standard boxes that are gorgeous and lovely, and you can get custom boxes that are much more expensive, but you can work out exactly what you want to fit into that box.
But you need to
order it like a month in advance,
and at least 100 of them. Quantity. So.
Yeah. So boxes, food safe boxes, food safe wrapping, packaging that makes things not wriggle around, and trial and error is going to give you all the information back. That means that you will then be able to send those out.
Lucy has asked about, is it worthwhile giving away free cake? And the answer to that is yes, if you know that people are going to share it and they've got a decent following. So, they've got a good engaged following who really track with them. So it might be somebody who's only got a few thousand followers, but they're really engaged with what that person does. It doesn't have to be somebody who's got 200,000 on Instagram, because quite often those people...
you don't need 200,000 sales.
You don't want 200,000 sales.
You don't want them. So actually the micro influencers, which would be sort of 3,000 to 5,000 is probably what they call them, have a faithful following. And so what that person recommends, that feels people are very connected to that. What I would say is, don't ever send cake with the obligation that they have to. So always say where it's a complimentary, no obligation. So if they do something wonderful online, then that's fantastic. If not, you've given away a box of free cake and somebody has liked it out there in the big wide world. But for people to feel pressured into saying nice things is not a great...
Well, we want it to have integrity.
Yeah, exactly. So by saying it's no obligation, it actually gives them the option and the freedom to just enjoy and say the words that they want to say about it, which is great. And
I think for us, it's worked really well. So we have a waiting list for the next month that we set up, and that's pretty much, well, it's probably full by now. So if everybody on that list bought cake, then we would sell out next month. We have
a restricted number of parcels that we're actually going to send because we need it to fit in with life.
But the reason I mention that is not just to blow our own trumpet, although I always take every opportunity to do that. No, but the reason I'm saying that is actually that was a lot of that was through Instagram influencers sharing. We sent them cake. It was no obligation. They did share. The pictures look lovely. And we have now a really great sort of waiting list of people lined up to buy cake for next month. So,
and I would actually say that samples at the moment, maybe even to this is quite apart from this, but samples to venue or event people that you know that are on their own at home, like that's not a bad thing. Just to share a bit of love with them, remind them that they're not forgotten. Those things will land much heavier, I think. It will just make much more of a memory and impression if we are kind to those people who really do feed our businesses. So if you know somebody who's a venue planner or an event planner at a venue or in weddings, go ahead and send them some. If you can get 24-hour cake to work, then send them something out and with a little card, and they will love you. They will.
No, for sure.
What were you going to say?
I'm just reading the question. So Chris has asked about newsletters. We do use a newsletter. The way that we've done that is because we've set it up as a new business, Black Box Cake. So when people go there, there's a sign-up form. We also sent out invitations to people to join that mailing list originally. And that's a really useful way to get the word out there. And usually it's people who are engaged with what you're doing. And so it's I think it's a really effective way to communicate. It just needs to be, the content needs to be interesting. It needs to not always be salesy. So
Yvonne is really great at this, actually, and she's just articulated what she's doing. But I've been watching what you've been doing online, Yvonne, and it's been amazing. So she does cake jars, and she got 5 core flavors.
Oh, great!
And then she uses stories to actually interact with people and say, would you like this flavor or this flavor? Do you think? And do polls on flavors and involve the customer from the get-go. And then she also did a competition. So 2 pairs of jars were actually won because of the sharing of the information and the cake love.
Yes.
So I think Yvonne, you did an absolutely cracking job.
Really smart.
Really, really smart, brilliant business head on that. Yeah. Oh, you're very welcome. No, it was brilliant. So yeah. What have we missed, Phil, so far? Labeling.
Yeah. So it's super important is to make sure that your product is properly labeled. There are clear requirements that you've got to call out. So when we deliver a wedding cake, we have a letter that we hand across, which gives a listing of all the ingredients, but there's a different set of requirements if you're sending out a boxed product. And so you need to make sure that your labels have all of the ingredients on, all of the allergens on.
Allergens aren't something that we can mess with.
Yes.
So they all need to be called out on each product. And I think that's just super important. You're staring at the screen.
I'm just looking at the questions as they come through.
Chrissy wants us to put a link into the video.
I will try and dig it out for you, Chrissy.
Yeah, we'll try and do that.
So we can dig that out. I think we've covered most of the points. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I think just dealing with some of the challenges. So the reality is, it's likely that even if you have a 24-hour contract with your courier, is that they're going to get delayed sometimes. So one of the things that we've learned is deliver earlier in the week.
Yeah. Because
if it hits the weekend and if it's a bank holiday, that cake might not be 48 hours. It might be
6 days.
2 or 6 days, one of our cakes, because it just happened to land on a bank holiday. So we're now shipping on a Tuesday, which gives 3 full working days before the weekend. But the reality is that sometimes stuff is going to get delayed, stuff is going to get damaged, and I don't think that I'm not sure, most shipping companies I spoke to would not cover food in terms of insurance. So if there's damage, it's tough. I mean, you can have a conversation, and obviously if somebody's driven a truck over your parcel, I think you've got a legitimate case to say it doesn't matter what was inside it was going to die. But just recognise that the job doesn't finish when it's gone out the door.
Yeah.
There will be returns, there will be problems, so just be prepared for that. Hopefully not many, but there will be some. And
I think that because it's a shift, if you do start doing Postal, that you'll be dealing with more people.
Yes.
So the likelihood of it feeling like there's more issues is just because you're dealing with more people. You're putting out more product. It's not it's not 1, 3 or 4 or 5 tier cake. It might be 20 boxes. So yes, just be brave with that.
Yeah, and sorry, just thinking of other things that not talked through. In terms of the technical side of it, there are lots of websites out there, or website companies like Squarespace, WordPress, Wix, who have standard websites that have shops attached to them. And you don't need to be a technical genius to set them up. We were able to set the whole thing up within about 2 days. That was to build the website. Once we got all the graphics and the branding sorted out, which was a much bigger piece of work. But once
fun.
It was really enjoyable, actually. So for example, with Squarespace, we have our site. It comes with an online shop. We've been able to connect that with a shipping solution, so that all our orders from our website go down to the shipping solution. They go across the DPD, who then come and pick them up, and so the whole thing is completely electronic. And that was all relatively easy to set up. I would say end to end, it took about 3 weeks to get the whole thing to work properly, and we did a trial shipment.
But I think that also recently Instagram have put their shopping, their sort of online shop as well. I'm not sure how many of you use the Instagram shop, and was Facebook not doing something similar?
Yeah.
So everybody is getting on the new way of doing business that we need in order to navigate isolation and what we're facing as a country. So everything's changing. Everything's changing super quick. And there will be people out there that are on those platforms ahead of you, and no doubt there will be podcasts and Zoom tutorials and all of those things out there. So it's not beyond you. If you already run a business, then you can adapt your business. We've adapted to all of this, so I reckon we can if we have the will and the time and the energy. which is no small thing to consider, then I think it is absolutely possible to do that. In terms of, is there anything else that we need to talk about in terms of just sending out samples, like not as in terms of the bigger shop kind of stuff, but in terms of sending samples
to customers, or
to anybody?
No, I mean it's essentially the same process. To send out to customers, make sure that it looks pretty. When it arrives, it says something to your clients about who you are as a business, how it's wrapped and how it's presented. That first impression you make is when it lift the lid and they look inside. So make it a pretty picture. And I think Christine is our demon wrapper, and did an amazing job with Black Box Bake. And actually, when I saw the photographs on Instagram, it was absolutely worth it. They looked fantastic, and that's because of the effort that's put into that.
That's because when I was 14, I worked in a shop that I actually was paid to wrap gifts, really, really awkwardly shaped gifts, and so everything works out for good.
Yeah,
it was just a fabulous little shop in the Waverley Market in Edinburgh, right next to the station, and we had to wrap quick.
Yeah, well, and you did. I couldn't quite believe how quickly you got through all of those packages.
I really enjoyed it. There's something about just the monotony of one thing after the next. Honestly, I could work in a factory. There's headspace though, isn't it?
I would like after
it's all the creased corners and the neat little bits, and then everything tucked away and put in its little bed. I love it so much. Oh dear. Anyway, yes, I'm a bit obsessive about neat corners.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we ended up getting a cake slicing guide, bit laser cut out of aluminium, so we can cut our slice of the cake evenly. So
Phil was very excited about that.
Very, very excited about that. And actually, remarkably cheap. I was amazed. So they did a good job for us. So I think for us now, what we're thinking, what's the next thing for us in terms of that business? It's about making sure that it works really smoothly and we can do it quicker. And we definitely can do it quicker. It was an epic.
So Leslie has asked, she said lovely things about the name Black Box Bake. And but she wants to know who came up with the name. So first of all, it was agony. I'm going to just say,
oh, gosh.
we have bought more domain names.
What? Like 5 or 6 different. We would think, this is an amazing name, and then we would buy it, and then we're like, maybe not.
No, it was only like £10, but oh gosh.
But if anybody would like to buy sendcakeplease.com, then we have that one.
Or Great British Cake. Oh my goodness. So we went through some painful, some ugly names which all sounded amazing at the moment that we decided it was for them, and then we did not like them at all.
And then we ordered some samples, and one of the
sample boxes,
and one of the sample boxes, which we really like the look of, was a black box. And so we just thought we'd call it.
We need to come up with a better name, a better story than that.
Yeah.
I think
we'd like to say that we're branding geniuses, but that's where
it literally was. It was a box on the bed, and it looked really good. And I just said, what about? I don't know who said it.
No, you said it. Yeah. No,
what about Black Box Cake?
Yeah.
Because that looks like what I want to send out, and it sort of stuck. And then you said, "Oh, but black box, like that's a computer term. Like it means it's a thing of mystery. It's a thing that you can't really understand." And so out of that discussion came the fact that we would.
An element of it would be something.
An element would be mysterious, that we would send things to people that they didn't know what they were ordering, and so that's where it all came from. Yeah, marketing geniuses. Oh dear.
So there you go. That's the story of how Black Box Cake became Black Box
Don't
Cake.
tell anybody though, because we're gonna figure out a really good story.
Yeah, and then we're gonna sell it as a tutorial. We'll make a fortune.
How to do marketing? Gosh, get frustrated. A C box on bed. Name brand after box on bed.
It's like blue box, white box cake. There'll be a whole raft of them now. Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
Fab. Well, I think we probably have whistled on enough.
We probably have, and we've taken up more than we should. But next week we have Ben and Shagan telling their story of cake domination in London luxury scene. And Shaken also happens to be an ICU consultant. Ben used to work in healthcare as well, and so they have an inside scoop on what all's been happening there. And so they're just lovely, lovely people from Monaghan. So do check them out and follow them on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, whatever else social they're on. And we will talk to them next week, where we'll have a lovely split screen because we know how to do that.
Yeah, and Paul and David the following week as well. So if you do have any questions about the Masters Programme, just private message us, and we'll gather those together and put them to them, and it'd be lovely to hear how they've got this far.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will try and find that link and post it in there with the sending samples.
We'll dig that out. Yeah, brilliant. All right, thanks so much for joining.
Have a lovely, lovely day and week.
We shall see you next week.
All right, bye.